Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox. Hello wotv community. What's up y'all? It's Monday. That means it is announcement time. Time for me to return to the wotv content mines to talk about the fact that I was right in calling that this would be this week, that it would correspond as it did in JP with the limit burst enhancement releases. I actually think that this is a really good thing that they're the first units to get this new upgrade, because they were basically dead last on getting the 140 upgrades. And there's not a lot of, kind of spoiler alert for this whole video, there's not a lot of things that are super great about summer units, and this is a problem that also affects other holiday units. When was the last time that you saw More the Merrier, Resnick the Hoppy, Winter Luartha, other than the last time I saw Summer Victoria, I think, was in Porcelain Tower this week. You know, like, these just aren't units that hang around, and like, for people who've been playing for years, like, you never see them. It's kind of surprising that we still get excited for them competitively, but they are pretty cool units. And I will say that as far as those holiday units go, they tend to be the better ones, like just below, right off meta, but still pretty good. And the 100 cost ones, they have at least made an attempt at making better and more competitive, but still we haven't really seen them. And part of the reason that we haven't really seen them again is that they haven't gotten their 140 upgrades until now, even though some of them were released kind of right before that. So they got armpitted a little bit in the way that I've described units like Sakura and Raldor, you know, kind of being released right before an upgrade, and therefore they won't get it for the very longest amount of time that is possible. So to make up for this snub, they are coming out with the LB upgrades, and will be some of the first units to have those, other than some of the first units to be released in the game, and therefore some of the oldest. So they'll probably be the first impactful units with LB upgrades, and the first that you'll be farming for. They're also not terrible units, and there are a lot of upgrades that if you have these units, and if you, I don't know, buy into their flavor or whatever, and have pulled them before, then they will make pretty good units for you. So in this video, I want to be talking about what all of these units do and how to make good use of them. So some of these units are actually really cool and have interesting things going for them. Summer Elsirelle in particular carried my account for a long time, and was one that I used as an evasion hunting water unit in a time when water really couldn't hit very well. Was quite interesting, and definitely like a worthwhile pull. I got her on a free ticket even, and she anchored my account. So, you know, maybe you've gotten some of these units on a free ticket, you're not sure what to do with them, you want to make them cool. It's Winter Victoria, that's the one. It's not Summer Victoria. I'm thinking about Summer Lilyth. So let's get started with Summer Jayden, as he's going to be getting upgraded drop rates this week, and I think that as the newest, he's probably one of the stronger ones, and one of the, maybe one of the more used ones currently. It's, again, really hard for all of these units to get used a lot, because they've been stuck at 120 in a 140 meta. This may be one that we'll see a lot of use, but again, he's coming out like right after we have finished the trifecta of Flaggy, Glassy, Soddly, and Joom, which is dominant. I've seen reports it was dominant in high tier class match, and it was already like one of the best teams in the game before the 140 upgrades, and now it's coming back as one of the better ones. So it's really hard to fit this guy onto a team, even a fully reawakened team, even one where you aren't going for the newest units, because even the old wind units do really well. But on his Dream ability, he's going to be getting 20% magic and 15 AoE resistance, which I feel like is quite a lot. Usually you only see like 10, so 15 is quite a bit. I think that really helps him. But also, kinda think he would need it. I really dig this. I think this is a very good passive. I think this is more in line with what I would be wanting and expecting out of a 100 cost limited damage dealer at this point. I want you to look at me like Bradley looks at me with his one eye. So 24% magic is standard, 40 spirit penetration is a pretty standard follow-up to that. Decrease AP consumption 20 is quite nice. That's going to be a 20% reduction across his entire kit, which is going to be very helpful for him. Like most iterations of Jayden, he is kind of AP hungry and gets a poor AP start. Okay, so he can blast through people's AP. He can also increase his spirit penetration another 40, which means that if you throw another 20 on through his weapons, that you could get him to 100% spirit penetration with this buff, which also brings 40 magic, which is going to be great. Good combination with that, just really cranks his damage up, I'm sure. However, we're not seeing much missile resistance penetration here. There is some on his TMR, interestingly enough. I think it's a good TMR for him because of that, but let's see if we find any in the rest of the kit. His buddy buff increases agility, critical evasion, and grants AP auto restore for himself. That's pretty good. I really like buddy buffs that give agility, and I think March of the Stag was the one from Jayden, so he's picking that up from his other half. It was a good part of Jayden's kit, so I'm glad that it's picked up here. We have a 200% damage, full dispel before damage lands after the upgrade, and it has a 100% hit chance. Very cool skill, very nice range on it as well. And then probably one of the bigger skills to write home about for him, his AoE reduces counter chance 100% before dealing damage, so this will not be countered. It just won't. Damage then happens. 165 mod isn't huge, especially for 40 AP, kind of expensive. But it's also going to reduce their slash attack resistance penetration by 40 for 3 turns, which gives you the ability to build him with much higher slash resistance and have him have a way of really backing that up, even in a meta where so many people have very high slash attack resistance penetration. He has a means of reducing healing power on a very hard-hitting skill that is going to break magic barriers before dealing damage, but also have a 50% chance to inflict silence as well. So this is going to be a pretty powerful anti-healer tech. You know, even if you don't get hit with the silence, which would completely stop you from healing allies in most cases, the decreased healing power of 50 is really going to cripple your healing abilities. And you know, there's a lot of units like Yuna that are meant to be kind of in the back row healing, but have also been given missile weaknesses, just so something can get to them, and so that they can have a bad matchup essentially. And this is going to be a really bad matchup for those types of units. So I think that this gives him a little bit more of something to do. This is a really neat dream ability upgrade in that, you know, just giving him access to the ability to break magic barriers so that he can't be walled in that way would have been impactful enough probably. But 50% chance to inflict silence for 3 turns I think is really cool. The thing is, though, we are and do tend to be in a more physical meta, so often skills that really target mages and really call mages out, while they are powerful in the right situation, don't tend to be like super broadly meta relevant. But I think that the fact that this has a really good interaction with healers, which are probably the most some of the more common reasons to put a mage onto a physical team, I think that that interaction is going to be pretty profitable for him. He also has another silencing skill in his main sub, so well, cool. But now that that's in the main job, we can very safely skip that. We're not even losing out on anything at all. Arithmetician is going to give him access to heal. Wait, that's the single target heal. Does he get the AoE heal? He also gets the AoE heal. So AoE healing, instant cast AoE healing at that. Also instant cast AoE damage. Not a very high modifier here at all. Actually, I've never realized how low the modifier on these are, but woof. You really need that 30% to make that good damage, don't you? But it is instant and inexpensive, and yeah, I mean, it's not bad. Like, I'm not shitting on it. It's not going to be the hugest damage though. But the heals are pretty good. The disable can be helpful, but he has kit to deal with evasion pretty well. So unless we're running into someone like Yuffie, I don't think he's going to try to use the disable skill. And then Scholar is going to make him a bit more durable, either by giving him defensive buffs, by speeding. Doesn't really have casting time, so that's not super helpful for him, I don't think. I mean, outside of this job, I don't think he really has casting times. Yeah, so that skill's not going to be very helpful for him, unfortunately. Restoring 300 CT is okay, I guess, if you're trying to waste time in between turns. I don't know. I don't think that buff's great for him. I don't think much of this sub-job is great for him, although I do have to point out that he does have Law of Geo-Assimilation, so boom. Law of Geo-Absorption, I think maybe, I don't... Summer Elsirelle, you have screwed my mind up on what that skill is actually called. But the ability to do big, large AoE strike damage from a little bit of range and absorb 30% of the damage done is often quite good if you can get it to go off. He is more of a ranged unit, and this is a shorter range skill, although it will hit things an impressive distance away from him because of the large AoE size. And then, oh, I guess he didn't get a limit burst upgrade. Because I guess he's still the new unit for JP, which means that he wasn't as in need of an update. And I think that you might actually see that, like, especially when we compare him to certain aspects of Summer Helena, we're going to see that he is actually probably definitely the better unit in a lot of ways. But Limit Break is a cross-shaped AoE, 200% damage, quite good, 67% chance to inflict slow at a 50% reduced speed for 3 turns. This is real likely to hit slow. I don't even think Addison Rae has a 67% chance to inflict slow on her LB. Yes, she has a 67% chance as well to inflict slow on her LB. So Summer Jayden's LB is going to be equally likely, and that's amazing because Addison Rae almost never fails to land slow on fucking anybody. It's not just landing it on mages as often is the case with status effects because of the higher faith. It is pretty much hitting everybody from 50 to 100 faith pretty easily. 97 faith, you know. Alright, so that's Summer Jayden. Let's talk about Summer Helena next. And I think you'll see she is just a little bit behind him. Despite them both being 100 cost units, I really don't think that she is the better of the two. This is an interesting buff for her TMR. The ability to give magical human killer for 3 turns in a cross-shaped AoE is pretty cool. So she's going to be getting healing power 20, magic attack resistance penetration 20 for self, and an upgrade to one of her skills, which is going to give her a physical barrier. But she is already getting 20 magic attack resistance penetration from her master ability, in addition to some reaction block rate, AoE resistance, good stuff. But that's going to put her at a starting point of 40% magic attack resistance penetration. I really don't like her passives, although she does get kind of like a self-sacrifice, magical self-sacrifice, giving her 60% magic for negative 5% HP, not a bad trade-off. I think that her other good passive is probably the agility and spirit. The other ones just don't do it for me at all. It really doesn't, no, that feels like something to write home about. She can restore CT off of her basic skill, which is pretty cool. She also does have an HP restoration skill for self and TP restoration skill for self. It's going to be important that those two things happen. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we talk about some of her buffs, but she has an upgraded guaranteed hit skill. 200% damage is probably going to do a pretty good hit to whatever it hits. It's also going to reduce evasion rate 430 by 3 turns, which is giving them the rest of her team, hopefully, even though this is lightning, which still can't hit the broadside of a barn often, but someone accurate on her team might be able to follow that up and be able to take out that extra courage or re-raise. Because one thing that I often like to stress with anti-evasion guaranteed hit skills like this is that single target skills, even if they can take out their target in one hit, often have to hit twice because of courage or re-raise if they don't remove one of those things. And because of that, you basically have a 2-turn clock. If this is the only means you have access to take that unit out, you will have to hit them with this twice, and you will have to make it to that point, basically. Survive until then, and often that is the problem. But there is an AoE guaranteed hit at the very bottom of her kit. 165 mod isn't nearly as big, but it will hit pretty hard. And it will be absorbing 30% of the damage done. It's always good to see on AoE skills because they're going to be hitting potentially more targets, so potentially doing more damage, so potentially giving you more healing. Also, again, she has healing power up, so that's going to be a much bigger heal than it has any right to be, just to begin with. Let's talk about her big upgraded buff, though. This is the one that she just got upgraded, and also a very interesting buff. It's going to be a box-shaped increase attack and magic for 3 turns by 40% for allies. But for her, it is going to give her a 50% physical damage barrier for 3 times, 3 hit barrier. But it's also going to increase the damage done by skills by 50%, but they will also cost TP based on AP cost 50%. So if the AP cost is, let's say, 38, like the skill rate below it, then it's going to cost an additional 19 TP to cast, but it is also going to have an additional 50% damage, which is going to cause her to burn through her TP rather quickly, but she also does have a heal that recovers her TP, which is pretty cool because the heal also costs TP. So she can, if she's not, because she is a DPS, right? Healing is not going to be her priority. So she can get into situations so she burns through her TP before she even thinks to cast that skill or other skills like it. And it's gonna, I think this is really gonna hurt her as a healer in a lot of respects. And she does have White Mage as a sub job. So, I think that it's gonna be a little bit hard for her to like naturally, get all this, spin all these plates. But I think that there's manual players who might appreciate this kind of, those modes that she can have. But I'm not sure that the AI is really going to figure out how to do this too well. So depending on her to heal herself or others is probably a no-go. She also has a very, very, very large skill. This is a big diamond AoE, 165 modifier, just like the guaranteed hit skill at the end, but this is going to dispel courage before dealing damage, even if it doesn't hit the target, right? So if we were in the case of, let's say, Helena, and this was the first skill and it didn't hit her. It didn't stop her either. I believe she's immune. It is still going to dispel courage, which means that this attack wouldn't be completely wasted, and then you could follow it up with this guy right here and decrease evasion rate so that just in case she manages to survive that wallop, she might get hit and followed up by someone else pretty easily. So I actually kind of like her main sub in that it gives her something really interesting, lightning resistance penetration. And I think that this is going to make her a good Earth Buster alongside Elia when Elia comes out. But also gives her increased magic attack resistance penetration 40, so that's going to get her up to 80, and then you can get her up to, I think, 100 with her glove. So 100% magic attack resistance penetration potentially isn't that bad, but she does unfortunately have to run a pretty a pretty limited sub job to be able to pull that off, in that this only has 2 skills. And the other side of this can break magic resistance, which is interesting but not great. It's also a single target skill, so I'm not super excited about that at all. It's also reflectable, so that's a little bit sad as well. Looking at White Mage, again, I'm not sure that she will, even in White Mage, be a very reliable healer in any way, but also she didn't get like full life or re-raise or any of these things. She did get Curaga, which is a pretty big deal, in that it's a pretty big heal, especially with her 20 healing power up. This is going to be a really big healing move, again, if she uses it. And also, again, if she manages to conserve the AP to use it. But the real loser here, I think, for the most part, is Paladin. Although, you still probably run Paladin in a lot of cases just to have a source of courage. I mean, there isn't a lot else that this job has going for it, except for another self-heal, which is a little bit more TP efficient, but also doesn't restore TP, so I don't think you ever want to use it. Even though this is one of the theoretical cases where Paladin lands on a character that can actually take advantage of that skill, it is just immediately outclassed by something in her main kit, and that's kind of a problem for that skill. Her limit burst is, wow, removes shell and now haste with its upgrade, decreases AoE resistance by 30% for 3 turns for targets, and has a 240 mod. Now that 240 mod lands doing AoE damage in a big diamond pattern after all of those things hit. So there's a lot of things that can't even slow this skill down, and a lot of ways that life is going to get real risky for these folks afterwards, especially with a lot of teams actively trying to build high AoE resistance right now. The other side of that coin though, and the thing that you may have noticed going through this, is that Summer Jayden doesn't have missile resistance penetration except on his TMR, and that's a little bit unfortunate, but missile resistance isn't as big a thing as magic resistance is. But she has 100% magic resistance penetration, which is pretty cool, but has absolutely no spirit resistance penetration, just none anywhere in this. Which means that she could be walled really hard and really effectively, potentially, by a unit like Charlotte, like really easily. And there's not a lot that she does about that. She doesn't have a spirit break. So again, this is a unit that could get walled really easily by a lot of units that can deal with magic. Just based on the fact that she, like, I don't know, maybe you get 20 spirit penetration on her glove. Cool. She has 20. She's gonna be doing 20% damage to a unit with 100 spirit. Great. You know what I mean? So I feel like there was a time when this was acceptable, and that time was when Helena came out, Summer Helena came out on JP. Even then it wasn't super exciting, but she did have some new things that she did that were cool. Even though ultimately, you know, time didn't do her right. But there was a time when this was acceptable, and that time isn't really now for like a newer DPS. This isn't a unit that I would advise anyone to really pull for. But also probably not Summer Jayden either, especially since being the newest of the summer units other than Glaciella. He somehow got skipped on basically all of the upgrades, including the Limit Burst upgrade, which is a little bit unfortunate for him, but also I get it. It kind of makes sense, so I'm fine with it. Next unit I want to talk about is probably the last one of these that's going to be all that relevant in PvP at all. She has a really cool accessory though, really good start on defense and magic in terms of the raw stats, but also has old Curaga as an instant cast skill. Unfortunately, this is not the big boy Curaga that we just saw on Summer Helena, and that's unfortunate, but there aren't really any other ways to put just like a raw heal that is aimable and instant on characters, because you'll notice that a lot of like Smile Practice, Knight's Blessing, a lot of the ways that you can put a heal onto a mage that doesn't have heals are self-centered cross-shaped AoEs. This is actually aimable, and I think that makes it interesting and kind of a worthwhile TMR. This TMR also works really well on like Devouts and that kind of thing, who already want a little bit of extra defense. Dream ability, remember I was just complaining about not having spirit penetration? Well, she's getting some. She's getting 20 spirit penetration on the dream ability, an additional 10 defense, and as always a skill upgrade. So if you're just looking at kind of what her Master Ability 2 and Master Ability 1 kind of add up to be, you've got fire resistance, agility, magic, defense, good spread. But really defensively, we are leaning heavily into defense. You're seeing a lot of defense in this kit. Defense penetration is kind of tough for this girl. It's a thing that she has issues with. As you'll see, you know, even more ways to get defense, even more ways to make sure that defense sticks around. Also, all elements debuff resistance is interesting. That was a pretty cool upgrade for this this skill, this job, and this character, I think. The title invocation is pretty cool. I like these skills, even though the evocation boost, gauge boost, is never really been super impactful or interesting. Just getting a diamond AoE single target resistance 25 buff is pretty cool, and raising their element of attack. Hers also gets upgraded, so it's now also going to be giving 25% fire and dark resistance for allies within that AoE. So that's going to be really helpful. It's also kind of cool to get dark in there so that they actually have a foothold potentially in coming into like versus dark metas, which is, you know, there aren't usually a lot of things that deal with either light or dark particularly well. Getting an elemental team outside of the usual rotation of just fight it with its counter element in on this would be interesting. Law of geoassimilation. It's going to reduce counter chance by 100% before dealing damage. Then it's going to hit with strike damage 185 mod, pretty high. Diamond AoE. We just talked about this skill previously, except without the reduced counter chance 100%. That's an interesting upgrade, and this skill usually hits pretty damn hard for her. But it's also cool that like there's nothing anybody can do about it too. But that reduced counter chance, stopping him from reflexing around her skills, has always been really important for this, and there's just more and more places where this is becoming important. And I think it's actually become a better upgrade to the skill than it was prior to that. And then Devitalizing Glint, which breaks magic barriers. Good that she has that. And also breaks their healing power. Not by a tremendous amount, but with the 220 mod and a 5-panel AoE, it tends to hit things. It also has, even though the AoE pattern starts in front of you, it's a pretty decent range. And then her job level 25 is a physical barrier 50% for 3 turns, which is equal to the one that was just added to Summer Helena's kit, and also protect for 3 turns on top of that. So 3 hits, 3 turns. Scholar, boo. Paladin, so very similar to Summer Helena here, and then we're getting Paladin. Once again, this is going to be a case where you're really running this for courage. However, for Summer Elsirelle, who does not have the restore HP and TP skill that Summer Helena does, this is her only way of self-healing, and can be a pretty impactful one. She can heal quite a bit with this on her way to wreck somebody's face, and especially if she follows it up with like Law of Geoassimilation and picks up some extra HP that way. She can very quickly go from having taken damage from her first fight to fully healed, but your team is well bruised, sort of situation. This is also theoretically a way of getting her hate, which might, I guess there was a time when that was more relevant for her. I don't think that she stands up as well in that she doesn't, I mean, her job level 25 helps. It gives her a barrier and it gives her protect. Those are way more modern than just stacking defense on her, which seems to be more of her thing. But I'm not sure that I would rate her as a good modern tank. So you're really probably just running this for the heal and for courage. If you want to give her more guaranteed hit though, especially this skill, because as I was saying before, single target guaranteed hit is good for finishing people off. Especially a weak skill like Unevadable Pain is really just not good for getting it started, because you know you might have to hit Helena twice with that, and then you have to hit her a third time to get rid of the courage. So it's too long of a clock. But a skill like this does a lot of damage to a lot of people, and it's very good to see this in her kit. It's also going to stack really well into her her limit burst, which actually doesn't do quite as much damage, oddly enough. It doesn't have quite as high of a modifier. It is a much bigger AoE though. This is going to add a whole nother 4 spaces on the back end to the AoE of Bursting Light. It's also going to decrease AP. What was 20 is now 40, so this is going to be absolutely crippling. You're getting hit, you're taking a lot of damage, and you are getting absolutely crippled by this girl. But also, and this is going to be really impactful, especially against physical teams, and she is a versus physical unit, so this is really on brand for her and also good to her strategy. But also it is now a 240 mod instead of a 200 mod, which means that it is finally also stronger than Bursting Light, so good on it. Really probably one of my favorite units, and she survived like well into the 140 meta as one of my best options until I really just started getting everybody to 140. And then it became a lot more hard, a lot more difficult to justify putting her onto a team, but I'm certainly going to have a lot of fun bringing back Summer Elsirelle. But one unit that I am definitely so happy about, I'm hoping that this can be her time to shine again, maybe, is Summer Kilphe. One of my favorite units. And I mean, just she's made to be kind of the counterpoint to Summer Elsirelle, in that she is a physical damage dealer instead of a magical one, but she is good against mages. She has high spirit, where Summer Elsirelle has high defense, and high attack, where Summer Elsirelle has high magic. So Dream ability is going to bring 20 slash attack resistance penetration, always helpful for her. 15 accuracy, which I think is really good to see here. Maybe not exactly what I wanted, but it is good for her because she can be, she's kind of borderline a quite accurate unit, so a couple extra things to push her over that threshold is great. Who was it? Summer Helena has kind of the magical version of this skill where she has negative 5 HP but 60% magic. This is kind of the physical counterpoint of that. She also has a way of giving herself more accuracy and defense penetration, so between the dream ability and this ability we've got 20 defense penetration, I'm sorry, 40 defense penetration, 20 slash attack resistance penetration, and 40 accuracy. Pretty good combination. Also, increased move and agility is always nice. I mean, it's generally nice. Sometimes the extra move can stab you in the back, but she really wants to close in on people, and I think that really helps her. But also, increase acquired AP by 50 is not bad, and it is certainly worth putting on. Like, you're probably going to run one of these two at all times, but which of these two you run with it, or if you run these two together, those are all good questions. I think those are, while there's not like an amazing standout, again, this isn't like, I can't hold this girl, unfortunately, to the standards that I would have for 100 cost CPS. But I would say that this is pretty decent for a 90 cost and has good swappability, even though there's only 4 of them. But that just means that she gets more stuff elsewhere, so that's okay. She is a Strider. This is one of my favorite jobs, but it is what it is. Basic attack, slow, very high range. Sometimes you want to turn this off for her. Getting 25 spirit and 20 magic resistance is really beefy for allies, and all 3 of these effects hit everybody in this pattern. So we're getting 40% attack, 25 spirit, and 20 magic resistance. This is just great for going up against mages right off the bat. It was one of her really great upgrades that made her what she was. Okay, it looks like Frostwind Axe is getting the new upgrade. So let's slash down to that. It's going to increase her slash attack resistance penetration by 30 for 3 turns. 30 is kind of an odd number. Why not 40? Okay, it's fine. It's cool because I love this skill. It does have some decent range, so this kind of puts her in setup distance in some ways. So I really like getting something like this on it. for 3 turns, not just for this attack. 165 mod is not huge. Neither is a 25% chance to inflict Frostbite. But Frostbite can be very impactful when it lands, and this also is going to have decreased healing power, 40 for targets affected by it, as well as giving Kilphe herself a 10% regen for 3 turns, which it's not great, but it's not bad. I'm not against it. 30% of her HP over 3 turns. It's slow, it's not much, but it is something. Backup buff if you aren't using the other one. Usually I would turn this one off for her. It is helpful at times. Oh, wait, so this is only 30? This is definitely the weaker of the 2 buffs. If you need the accuracy, though, this can be a good buff. 30 accuracy ain't nothing to sneeze at. This is also going to be 70 accuracy when you add it to the Dream Awakening and the Master Ability too. Again, this girl is going to be able to get a lot of accuracy on herself very easily, even before we start getting into equipment for her, but pretty cool. Twisting Shieldbreaker breaks barriers and courage while doing some pretty massive damage. She has to get up really close for this, and this is one of the reasons I like the extra move on her often. But she also has ways to decrease her defense penetration, only for this skill, unfortunately. But it's easy to get her to like 60 defense penetration, so it's very easy to make this skill 100% defense penetration, huge damage, but absorbs 70% of the damage done, which is often a full heal, because she hits very hard and can stack a very high attack stat. Lupine Rend, which is the double hit skill, and Tiger Maw, which is the debuffing skill. Not super excited about either of those. Don't think I've ever used Soldier on her, although I guess Paralyzing Edge having guaranteed hit is not terrible. Also, I'm not really sure that I've used Thief on her a ton, but I do like it. In that it gives her a chance to, it gives her a way of buffing her evasion rate, and reaction block 50 is not bad. Also, steal time's always fun. But wow, Mug does so much these days. It even steals their AP nowadays. I like that. So that's actually pretty cool. It's questionable if she's an evasion unit, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I really like that this buff is in here. It also gives her a way of decreasing accuracy. I think you usually turn this off because it can have some problems, buff range problems, but that's alright. LB upgrade, we're going to decrease light resistance by 38% for 3 turns. Also going to break their counter chance by 100%. And it is going to remove half of their CT. So, wow. It's going to, wow. They're not getting a turn for a while. Yeah, this is gonna ruin their life. I really like that this feels brutal. I like that they just stacked the shit on this, because it is a single target skill. It is relatively close to her as well. So, you know, like, it's not gonna ruin the entire team, but this one specific unit that gets hit by it, oh, they are screwed. And I like that. I like that a lot. So the reason why I am particularly excited for Summer Kilphe, even though I think historically, well, out of the units that we've talked about so far, historically this is the girl who probably has seen the least play. And for some of the best reasons. She's just not the best of them. In that she feels a lot like Elsirelle. Which is unfortunate given that Elsirelle is like half her cost. she does have some really cool stuff in her kit. And she does have the ability to get really high penetrations, and was able to get those high penetrations even before it was cool. She was like a hipster tank buster in a lot of ways. And her time to shine, I was one of the only people who really appreciated this and got to play with it, and it was fun while it lasted, was before the anti-evasion meta came shortly after lock, but also during the time where light evasion was powerful, but didn't yet have a like a physical evasion unit, because she was kind of that. She had some evasion potential like a lot of Striders do, but not much that she could super capitalize on, even in Thief, even with the proper buffs. However, well, a big part of the reason, a lot of her problems, is that she doesn't have courage, she doesn't have re-raise, anything like that. She has no insurance on her life, no life insurance whatsoever, and she's just not super reliable at being evasive. And when you combine that with the increasing vulnerability to guaranteed hit attacks, keeping her alive was really hard. But the longer you keep her alive, the more she will absolutely ruin the opposing team. I mean, she is a one-woman wrecking ball if she can get in their faces. So how would you go about keeping her alive long enough to get her into people's faces? Addison Rae. Soul Regram fixes a lot of these problems, especially with her in Thief. If you're running the evasion rate and reaction blocking rate buff, if you're running both of those, if you've gotten that buff off, right, and you've taken her middling evasive stats a bit higher, okay, maybe she's at least as evasive as Sweetheart Ildira, right? And we've seen how tough she can be sometimes, especially with the right gear. Maybe she can be that evasive. Then she's going to be kind of hard to hit, but if we can also factor out all that guaranteed hit, that's going to be a big deal for her. It is also going to be a very big deal for her to have courage, to have that insurance, and also to have a threshold heal there. Because if she can get that head start into having her health all the way back, she has a lot of ways to get it the rest of the way there, while hopefully dodging some more skills. In that she has the ability to give herself regen, and she has Black Panther Punish, which is just going to restore so much HP. Especially because she's hitting with that extra 40 defense penetration, which is, you know, more and more helpful and necessary as tanks beef up. So I think that in that specific area, some of the same things that kind of breathed a little bit of life back into Locke could also work to benefit her as well, and make her a fun unit to use on a light evasion team. I'm certainly planning to try it out. And that leaves us with two last units. So let's talk about Summer Lilyth. I think she's pretty cool because she's a ranged unit. I also think that as a ranged unit on Earth, she might have a similar kind of time to shine in the future, having Melnia and Rulgia as partners and having kind of a full Earth Gunner team. And there's a lot of other people that you could slot in here, and you know, a gunner team, 3 gunners sometimes works. What works a lot more reliably is 2 gunners and a tank, and Earth has no shortage of tanky units, so that's fine. Which can lead you to ask yourself, why would I want Summer Lilyth when I can have Rulgia and Melnia? Well, if you plan to get Rulgia and Melnia both, or you already have Rulgia and you plan to get Melnia, and maybe this just isn't the unit for you, unless you're trying to do that three missile team. In which case, oh boy, have fun with that. But I really think that for, well, cost reasons, she is an old 80 cost unit versus 2 new 100 cost units. I just don't think she's going to stack up, but let's give her a chance. Initial AP, increased by 20. Also, increased range 1 for self. She has pretty high range as it is, so I think this is something that's just huge for her. I think it's the first time we've seen increased range on a dream ability, which is pretty neat. And that is a very long skill name for the upgrade. Okay, this is such a good skill. It's such a good upgrade here. Range, accuracy 25, defense 12, and missile resistance 15. This is a really good spread. Because it really makes her, like, this first part is good and offensive, right? This allows her to take things down from distance and be sure she hits them. But then this also deals with some of her counterplay. This gives her defense against the mainly physical missile units and missile resistance, which works against all missile units, the ones that are going to be able to counter that range. In terms of a second skill, you might actually go for a little bit more range and missile attack, maybe. But I think that the real winner here is going to be the agility and defense penetration. I think that's a pretty big deal, and it helps supplement some of the things that this doesn't have. And it's probably going to be really important to get the defense penetration on her where you can. Her basic skill, well, okay, maybe this is her basic skill. Her basic skill inflicts poison. But she has another basic skill that doesn't really do anything but a little extra damage. Reduce counter chance and chance to inflict immobilize, so that would be Shadowbind, I think. Single target resistance break got upgraded, good, because that's a very good skill. Just compared to some of the other things that she would have as a ranger. I don't know, this is a really old job, so we're gonna see some rough stuff in here. You know, honestly, I'm getting flashbacks to like Luarte. But single target resistance down for 25 for 3 turns is good. That happens now before dealing damage, 220 mod, so big damage, pretty big range. And the upgrade is going to restore 30% of damage done. So pretty cool. Her barrage. Wow. Her barrage has 100% hit chance. I'm not sure what this second upgrade is or how it's different from the first, but 100% hit chance barrage ain't bad. And then job level 25 skill is going to decrease defense by 30, just this cast for targets before dealing damage. Okay, sure. It's going to decrease their defense penetration for 3 turns, which is good because she seems to be built like most Earth units, to be more defense heavy. Which is also, you know, arguably really good for her potential partners and her potential team, who are also going to care about the opposing team's defense penetration. This also being an AoE is pretty cool. And then it's going to increase her defense by 25 for 3 turns, which is a really good added fuck you combo with the defense penetration debuff. And this is, again, something that reminds me a lot of, I've said it before, was it Raldor's job level 25? Which does kind of the same things, except that instead of being like 45 defense for 1 turn, it's 25 defense for 3 turns, which I think is arguably maybe better, maybe? I don't know. Her main sub-job actually has 3 skills, but one of them, again, is just vanilla damage, so that's unfortunate. She's done. She does have some potential to be evasive. She has reflex, of course, but also evasion rate 35 but only 55, but only for 1 turn. And I've never really been a big fan of this skill because you are going to be taking a good bit more damage if you do get hit, and 55 just isn't enough to justify. I don't think that works even for her. But this does give her access to sharpshoot, which might be important for her. I'm not seeing any guaranteed hit or like increased accuracy. So she might need that. Although, actually, here's an increased accuracy skill. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it is in Dual Gunner, which is helpful. Dual Gunner also gives her a drawbackless way to increase her evasion rate, but I still don't think it's enough. What it does give her access to are some pretty cool range buffable AoE skills. Oh, this is... Well, it's kind of unfortunate that this isn't range buffable, but I guess Split Shot is, so that can be moved out a number of spaces. Cool. And yeah, this has a plus 30% hit chance, but it's not that big of a attack. Once again, just like basically every other summer unit that they've given Paladin, and this is the 3rd, I think. This is really just here for courage. I don't think that this character is a tank. I don't think you want her to be your tank. I guess Taunting Blade gives her an alternate damage type. It slaps. It's a powerful skill. I'm just not sure how she's going to deal with having hate on her very well. Also, unlike the 2 mages that we were talking about having Paladin previously, the Restore HP, which is a magic scaling skill, that's really not going to do much of anything for her. So that's pretty unfortunate. And Blade Bash is just kind of terrible because of its range and the fact that this is a ranged unit. She is not designed to get that close to anyone, and if she is, everything has gone wrong. You need to reconsider all of your life choices if your Summer Lilith uses Blade Bash. Limit Burst is going to decrease missile resistance by 38% before dealing damage. 200 modifier, that's pretty big. Pretty good range on it. It's a very AP efficient skill now. 29 AP is basically nothing. 67% chance to inflict immobilize for 3 turns. That is amazing. Piece de la resistance. Fantastic. And the reason is, that's 67% is up there with like the slow mods that I was talking about for Addison Rae, for Summer Jayden, things that are very likely to hit. Unfortunately, this isn't a magic based unit, so her faith likely isn't very high. You may even run it 70 or so, just to increase the chances of this landing. Because if she can immobilize somebody, if you can pin someone down with her, especially if you have more Earth missile units, then you will be able to take them out before they can ever get in range to damage you. But, in addition to now immobilizing that person, you are going to get range +1 for 3 turns, which just, wow, great. Even better, keeps you even safer. As well as increasing your AoE resistance by 20 for 3 turns, which is also great, and also a thing that is potentially really beneficial for a ranged unit, in that sometimes for a lot of characters, especially if you're stacking as much range as this one probably is, being able to range buff herself with her Limit Break and her Dream ability, you're pretty safe against, you're forcing other characters, even characters that have long range, to rely on their AoE skills for that extra distance. So the AoE resistance 20 here, I think, is really going to keep her quite safe. The question that I have, though, and this does have quite a bit of range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so about the same range as Devitalizing Glint. No, I can't count. That's only 4. That's not even the same range as Devitalizing Glint. Now, she's going to have a lot of extra range modifiers on her again. The additional range is happening after damage for this skill, though, so she's not going to buff her range before dealing damage. I don't think that would even matter or really work, because you would still have to target, and if you couldn't target them. Anyways, if you're close enough to use this, I'm not really sure that this is the right time to be getting range +1. Because what does that really do? I mean, maybe you use this to immobilize their tank, and their 2 units are hanging out in the back. They've got 2 Elias. I don't know, I'm not very creative. 2 Elias with like the heavy bombardier stuff on them, so that they're very slowly moving forward. Maybe then you need the extra range after you've pinned down Snow with this. I don't know. But it's not bad. Like, it's good for a ranger to be able to get more range. It's one of their biggest, most important stats. I'm just really questioning if this was the place to add it into the kit. Not a bad unit, but seeing her age. And then we have one of, I think the second Kodadama wielder. She wasn't even the first Kodadama wielder, so she didn't even get the opportunity to be the first. Slash resistance 15, AoE resistance 15. Wow, that's big. And decreased chance of being targeted 3. Not massive, but is she getting 2 skill upgrades? Cool. Hold on now. Okay. Agility unlocked. That's unfortunate to see together. Although I guess it makes her more accurate, potentially. You probably want to use the agility, spirit penetration, accuracy sounds good. Yeah, probably these 2. But not great. Counter all damage reduce. Okay, so unevadable pain. She can modify her move and jump. She has a magic shield, AoE resistance, bursting light. So we're looking at kind of some of the same things that we saw in Summer Elsirelle's sub job. She can increase magic 40% for allies, magic attack 25 for allies, spirit penetration 20 for self, which is getting upgraded. Nope, that's the upgrade. Nope. Okay, increasing slash resistance for 3 turns for allies by 25. Okay, so there's a defensive aspect of this buff now. That's good. It is a really strong offensive buff for mages, although again not super popular meta dynamic to have, at least not right now, but I enjoy mage teams. And then job level 25, this is the upgrade. I don't know why they have to put commas in there, you're just confusing me. So, ooh, it got bigger. That's a cool upgrade. I don't care if it doesn't do anything else. Decreases AoE resistance by 25 before dealing damage in a diamond AoE pattern. 165 mod decreases slash and magic attack by 40 for 3 turns. 4 targets. Very interesting. I don't know that there are like many things that do that. This could fit her into some of these units with slash magic counters teams that you could use to hunt like slash and magic. You know, I'm just thinking about like actually Summer Glaciella will have one, but also Roth has one as well. So this could be part of a slash magic hate team potentially. 3 skills for the sub job. Once again, I mean that's better, but it's still not great. we have the stun, we have the movement, but she's kind of squishy, she's kind of small. I don't think you really want to move her to a target panel. Rune Knight, good range here, drain evocation, that's going to be important for keeping her in the fight. Also gives her some good buffs. I really love this skill. Even though it doesn't necessarily have the highest modifier, it is a nice skill. Okay, the skill dispels shell, so she has a shell dispel. I guess that's alright. Physical moves aren't really going to be super important or impactful here. Decreased chance of being targeted could be cool for her. This, so these two skills, this is interesting. This might be, well, she has a lot of guaranteed hit in the main. She has a lot of guaranteed hit main for her, so I don't think this is super important. But in that she is a mage, she is a unit that you're going to be running with very high faith, this might actually work. I don't know that I would bet the farm on it, but compared to a lot of ninjas that have this skill, she's going to be a lot more likely to land stop. Decreased move is usually pretty fun too. You know, she's not really going to scale well. Well, okay, actually, the dex agility might not be that hard for her, but the attack scaling portion of this just is not going to work out well for her. But that being said, she also might be able to poison people in mass as well, in a way that a lot of units that get ninja aren't able to do, but again, probably not the best strategy in the world for her. Upgraded LB is going to break magic barrier, so she can get rid of shell and magic barriers with this. Decrease spirit by 25 for 3 turns for targets before dealing damage. 200 mod, pretty good. But it's also going to have a 67% chance to inflict sleep for 3 turns in a cross-shaped AoE, unfortunately. A bigger AoE could have made this skill really, really wicked. But it's now also going to give her haste for 3 turns. Not bad. Especially if they're sleeping on her. But, I don't know about you, but I'm definitely sleeping on Summer Kitone. And, you know, again, it's not that summer units are terrible. It's more that holiday limited units don't tend to be very good in this game, especially compared to normal units even. That being said, they do tend to be a little interesting, and I would say out of a lot of the holidays, these are probably the most relevant units that have been released, other than the Sweetheart units. The Sweetheart units are actually maybe a little bit above curve for where they should be. They're typically very good for what they are. Even though, you know, we haven't seen a 100 cost Sweetheart unit yet. If we did see a 100 cost Sweetheart unit, I would imagine they would be very powerful, because again, they tend to be a little above curve for the cost. Whereas I think summer units tend to be a little bit below curve, but maybe not as far as a lot of other units in this type of situation would be. And I will also say for them, they are now starting to get 100 cost units. Once we start seeing 100 cost, like winter units and that kind of thing, maybe they'll start getting better, but again, I just, holiday limited units, just, I prefer to kind of skip the FOMO and just not pull for them at all. So I'm definitely going to be skipping the summer units, unfortunately. But if you do luck out and pull some of them with the free tickets, they are absolutely worth building and pretty cool units, especially if you get certain ones. So I am really hoping that your luck is great and that you have a lucky pull and get you a summer Elsirelle or summer Kilphe or summer Jayden or summer Helena, even maybe a summer Lilyth. Heck, even a summer Kitone would be cute. I mean, look, she's adorable. She is adorable. You could use her as your home screen unit and just have a cute little Kitone to look at every day. I don't know what to tell you. But no matter what you do, enjoy your gaming. Have a good week, and well, I would say happy summer, but we're getting to the point where summer has drug on so long that I'm no longer happy about it. I wish it would end. If we could get to a season that's not horrendously hot, that would be pretty great. But that's what I've had to say about summer units. Thank you for tuning in and listening. I'm Jockey Fox, and if you would like to hear more, be sure to like and subscribe. I thank you so much for doing that. Also, let me know what you're thinking in the comments, and while you're scrolling down there, check out the link in the description to the link tree that is going to lead you to all parts of the Jockey Fox media empire, whether that be podcasts or books or videos or a Discord or games or just ways to support the channel. All of that stuff can be found through that link, and you know, whatever else. Good luck, happy pulling, and I'll see you in the next one.